Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and in this video we're breaking down Avengers Doomsday.
Whew, the first trailer is now finally here, and in this video we'll be breaking it all down. After 4 character-specific teasers and some footage shown at CinemaCon and a bit of a leak, the first big teaser is now out for the public. Throughout this video, we'll be going through it all and discussing everything that we know about the movie. In this, I also want to touch upon the leak footage that's been floating around online, along with some of the stuff that's been shown on the movie that differs from this look here. So I will be going through the CinemaCon stuff as well, and trying to give you the best picture of the film that we can. Now, we have heard from the leaks that the film apparently opens with an incursion happening across 2 realities. Those are the Fox universe and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 1. You may have seen that there was a photo floating around of Tobey and Hugh Jackman standing alongside Ryan Reynolds, which is meant to be real. But in this world of AI, who knows for sure? But that's where we're meant to kick things off at, with both sides battling to save their reality. The X-Men 1's meant to come out on top, but this isn't the first incursion that they deal with. According to the leaks, they'll have fought against several worlds, and their reality will be the main stage the conflict goes down at. This film is meant to be a swan song for both these universes, and then come the soft reboot after Secret Wars, we'll get a full new X-Men team. Now, from what I can gather, we apparently go to Steve in a setting familiar to what we saw in the teaser released in December. This comes right off the back of Endgame, in which he's travelled back to live with Peggy Carter. He's made a life for himself, and in doing so has created a brand new timeline. However, this has caught the attention of the TVA, but luckily, or locally, they're no longer wiping out timelines. Loki then arrives with some TVA officers and knock on his door to talk about the multiverse. They say that something's happening across all realities and that they desperately need his help. But Steve is all like, mate, can't be arsed with that shit, mate. Just settle down here. Have you seen Hayley Atwell? Have you seen her? Travelled through time for that, so I'm not fucking going with you guys. Fuck off. Which Loki respects. But he tells them, though, they can't live here and that this timeline will be destroyed if he remains. So the leaks then say that they go with him to somewhere they can live a quiet life, with that being the Fantastic Four's universe. They're also meant to give him a little device to get in touch with in case things kick off, and this is akin to Nick Fury's pager for Carol Danvers. Steve and Peggy then spend years in this timeline, and their child grows up to be the same age as Franklin. At this point, we're meant to continue from the first steps post-credits scene, and we see Doom's arrived at the Baxter building. Reed and the rest then return home and learn he's there to discuss an anomaly. They realise someone's on their world who shouldn't be there, and thus their reality will be destroyed by an incursion. This then sets a table for them scanning the world and coming across Steve and his family. Asking him to return to his universe, they all travel in the rocket ship that we saw in Thunderbolts. Doom's with them as well, and initially they want to work together to stop the incursions. The 616 is of course a sacred timeline, and that could be the key to solving everything. Now, though the Thunderbolts had them in the teaser for their film, they actually apparently land first in Wakanda. According to the leaks, this is when we get the scene shown in the other teasers, which is why Ben Grimm was with Shuri and the gang. This then leads into a big scene with Talokan, and then things go from there. Now, we open the teaser with the shot of Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters sign lying in the rubble on the ground. This was of course shown in the X-Men teaser, and this then goes on to Professor X looking genuinely terrified out the window as those red incursion flames streak across the sky. Throughout this, we also get Doom's voiceover discussing the weight of what's about to happen. We do know that Doom will be turning against the heroes and even fighting the X-Men on the grounds due to what was shown in the leaks. This had him possessing the Sentinels and then using them like Doom bots. Now, this is something I did theorize before the leaks dropped, and yeah, this confirmed it. It also shows how deadly that Doom is when it comes to the X-Men. He's weaponizing their biggest historical nightmare and using their universe for ground zero, where he takes control and ushers in Doomsday. The heroes will also be fighting him here as well, while an incursion goes down behind them. He's clearly outmatching them though, and even seeing them as a team doesn't deter him from standing against them. Doom looks so good in the teaser too, and they've really nailed the comic accurate look. From what I've heard as well, Doomsday's masked for the majority of the film, and they're not showing off Robert Downey Jr. until a very crucial moment. Because of this, I think it will be to reveal that he looks the same as Iron Man, which is kind of the ace up the writer's sleeve. They're clearly trying to respect the character, while still giving the audience the Robert Downey Jr. payoff, but without turning it into like pure nostalgia bait, at least from what I can gather. Now, do I think we will have Doom fight Iron Man at some point in Secret Wars? Absolutely. Because of that though, I think for this film, they're just going to hold back Doom completely, not show his face at all, and then come that movie, it can have a bit of a better payoff. And you can still be like, well, they did a whole movie without revealing his face. I respect it. Slightly, it's still a cash grab, but I respect it. In general, though, I feel they're doing a really good job so far of making this feel like a proper Doctor Doom movie first, and then the return of Robert Downey Jr. second. With that seeming more like a bonus rather than the whole point. As for this universe in general, I do feel like Monica will be the person who keeps the peace. As I touched upon earlier, the leaks say this universe has faced off against multiple worlds, and they'll be cautious upon seeing the other heroes on sight. However, Monica can be the way in. She's been stranded there since the Marvel's post-credit scene, and she's positioned as a key peace broker between the arriving 616 heroes and the mutants. Her presence is also heavily tied to the incursion thread, and some theories even suggest her being there could be accelerating the multiversal collision. We then see the ominous red sky from the incursion pulsing through the massive windows, which creates a striking visual callback to the Marvel Studios logo. It's a nice stylistic touch that pulls the threat directly into the story. We then cut to the newly rebuilt Avengers Tower, proudly branded with a big bold A. Valentina Allegra de Fontaine acquired the building during the events of Thunderbolts, and it's clear she's made some major upgrades. The massive A logo that we glimpsed at the doorway in Thunderbolts is also now prominently displayed on the side of the building. Inside the building, we then get our first proper look at the current Avengers roster. This includes Captain America and Ant-Man, Catherine Newton returning as Cassie Lang, and you might notice she's spotting a brand new blonde hairstyle. Whether that's because she was filming Ready or Not 2 at the time, or simply wanted a fresh look, I don't know, but it does change up the character a bit. Later in the Fantastic Four scene, there's also a large screen visible behind them displaying what appears to be a live-action incursion graphic. Feels like a direct nod at the comics where Reed Richards explains the concept. Just like John Krasinski's Reed did in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, we may be watching Reed lay out exactly how much danger the entire multiverse is facing. We then cut to Wakanda with Talocan also answering the call as Namor arrives. He's seated on the massive jawbone throne that we first saw in Wakanda Forever. We then get a familiar shot from the earlier Wakanda teaser with Shuri from behind. However, this time there's a towering wall of water looming in the background. It looks like Namor has parted the sea Moses style to create the space for the meeting. Instead of the desert, it also seems like the gathering is taking place near or even inside his underwater kingdom of Talocan. Well, I say underwater, it's not underwater at this point, but that would explain the ancient pyramids visible in the distance. So, summer is here, and though I'm turning 38 in less than a month, which I'm not too happy about, I've never felt better. Between chasing the kids around, writing way too many movie essays, and hitting the gym, life has just been non-stop. But it's very good, and I always feel my best when I'm busy. However, let's be real, after 30, that natural energy and drive can start to dip. Your body does still make testosterone, but a lot of it gets locked away by this protein called SHBG. This is all shut away inside you, and unfortunately, your body can't get to it. But that's exactly why I've started using Mars Men, which gives me more energy, sharper focus, stronger lifts, and the steady summer drive day and night. Mars Men uses powerhouse natural ingredients to help you feel better. Those are Tongat Ali, Shilajit, vitamin D, zinc, and boron. They're all clinically dosed, made in the USA, and third-party tested. It helps to free up that locked testosterone so you can actually use it. Real results, real ingredients, zero synthetics, zero needles. Since I started taking it, my workouts are stronger, my recovery's faster, and I've got that consistent energy to enjoy every single sunny day this summer. Thousands of guys are feeling the exact same way as well, and over 91% report higher energy and drive. If you want to smash this summer feeling strong, confident, and unstoppable, then this is it. You can also get 50% off for life, free shipping, and 3 free gifts when you go to mengotomars.com right now. That's mengotomars.com. Grab it, use the code at the checkout, and when they ask where you heard about it, let them know that Heavy Spoilers sent you. That means we can just keep bringing you the good stuff, so go check it out and make this your strongest, brightest summer yet. Thanks. We then see a brand new shot with Cyclops. Cyclops is going to be played by James Marsden once more, and he's going to be getting a more comic book accurate costume. We did see him in the teaser doing a gigantic optic blast as well, and that's inspired our t-shirt at the merch store below. There we have not only this full power one, which creates a giant X, but also our Doctor Doom one as well. We've got a big lineup of stuff as well, and massive discounts too, and it all goes towards helping videos like this get made, so thank you if you've picked one up. Either way, I believe this is a direct continuation of the Days of Future Past timeline. Cyclops is fully the leader of the X-Men at this point, and it looks like he's been quietly led to eventually take over the school once everything settles. Comic fans will know that Scott Summers has a very complex history though. He goes through a full villain arc during Avengers vs. X-Men and eventually ends up in prison. I wouldn't even be surprised if we get a more jaded and battle-hardened version of him coming out this movie. That iconic scream from that first teaser as well also clearly pays homage to the classic X-Men animated series intro. But there's real pain behind it. He suffered enormous losses over the years, and you can feel that he's desperate to not lose anyone else. That's a lot of emotional weight to his character in this new era, and I'm really excited to see how he interacts and is basically finally done justice. We then get a glimpse of some of the cross-franchise fights breaking out. This includes Gambit going against Shang-Chi. Gambit is once more played by Channing Tatum, with him having the same look that he had in Deadpool and Wolverine. He's wielding his signature staff, and we know from the leaked footage that he will be fighting the Sentinels as well. Shang-Chi is also carrying the 10 rings, and I'm wondering how it's going to build off the post-credit scene of his original film. But these matchups perfectly show the kind of chaotic fights that we're going to get. We get hints of this with Mystique disguising herself as Yelena, and speaking of Mystique, she's rocking her classic white costume look. It's also clear they're giving the Phase 4 and 5 heroes plenty of spotlight rather than simply sidelining them. Now, a couple of years ago, before the big creative overhaul, I did make a video outlining the original Kang Dynasty plans. In this, the new wave of heroes would ultimately team up, take on Kang, and lose in the end. This would then set the stage for Secret Wars. It does look like we are getting something along those lines, but they're interacting with the classic Avengers team and basically being propped up alongside them. Alan Cumming has also dropped a few hints about some of the fights that we'll be seeing, and this includes Nightcrawler vs. Reed. He was of course shown in the leaks as well. I've watched that clip so many times. I don't care if it's potato quality, but in that we did see that he had bleached blonde hair. So they are changing things up, but to be fair, he looks exactly like how he looked 20 years ago or whatever. I know Alan Cumming has aged in real life, but hey, they did a fantastic job of keeping him looking young. But the main through line of the teaser, it kind of focuses on Doom vs. Thor. Makes me even wonder if the latter's going to die and if this could be Chris Hemsworth's send-off. It all goes back to those original run of clips that we first saw opening of Avatar. In case you don't remember, the clip had Thor crouched down in a forest praying to Odin. We then hear Thor's voice heavy with dread. He says his people are dying and that this threat scares him more than anything he's ever faced before. Now, for those unfamiliar with the concept of incursions, they're basically the most terrifying event in all of Marvel cosmology. When two universes begin drifting towards each other, their Earths collide, and this has disastrous consequences. If they make contact, both realities are completely annihilated, so the only way to save your own world is to destroy the other Earth before impact, which is normally what happens. However, there are other more creative solutions too. In Secret Wars, characters actually manage to phase one world through another to survive. I'm curious if the MCU might attempt something similar, and this might save two of the biggest franchises as well. I think what's likely going down though is that they'll destroy them all, and then the timelines will be merged into the Prime timeline. You might also remember years ago that we talked about how we'd heard Marvel were doing a soft reboot because they finally owned all their franchises except Spider-Man. So from what I've been told, everything's going to be brought under the same roof, where everything from before exists, but there's a new universe with recasts and so on. Kind of like the outcome of Secret Wars in the comics. But Thor's words carry even more weight when you remember the full line from the Avatar teaser. He speaks of having fought countless powerful warriors throughout his life, yet none of them have terrified the way this does. He basically says they're gonna need a miracle. On the surface, he's clearly talking about the incursions, but there's also the strong chance that he's referring to Doctor Doom. In the original Secret Wars comic, Doom learns of the Beyonders, who are godlike beings that exist outside the multiverse. They created it as an experiment, but ultimately decided to end it. To do so, they planted a Molecule Man across every single Earth, and he was a powerful Nexus being that was basically in countless realities. The goal was to then use every Molecule Man like a kinetic bomb, which would explode on that Earth, destroy it, and simultaneously they could wipe out the multiverse. Hearing of this, Doom devised an elaborate, decades-long plan to stop them. He took on the name Raboom Alal, which meant the Great Destroyer. He then built a religion around himself and recruited deadly followers known as the Black Swans to hunt down and kill the Molecule Men across the multiverse. Eventually, he stole the Beyonders' powers by hurling an army of Molecule Men at them, and with godlike powers, he then survived the final incursion and forged the remains of countless destroyed universes into Battleworld. This was a patchwork planet made up of several realities. You might remember that a couple of years ago, a concept art leaked and did seem to confirm this. It's on this world that he also rewrote reality and ruled as God Emperor Doom. In the film, I do wonder if the stuff with Kang and all his variants that we saw at the end of Quantumania, I do wonder if they're going to be in place of the Beyonders and Doom's going to arrive and then strip the powers from them. Might not though, but that's a theory. But when Thor says this threat scares him more than anything, it might not just be about colliding universes. It could also be the very real possibility of Victor Von Doom becoming the most powerful being in existence. We're also getting the highly anticipated Thor vs Doom showdown, which I think is going to be one of the big fights in the movie. I think they'll probably save Steve vs Doom for next time, and that's just because of how personal it'll be for the actors. Kind of like how Steve and Tony were teamed up finally during Endgame, because they didn't really interact during Infinity War, and thus when they did for that, it was a much bigger payoff. And I think they're probably doing the same thing here. But because of that, I believe that Thor vs Doom will be the big fight in this movie, and that of course is also packed with a lot of meta layers. It does look like it's going to be very one-sided, and Doom appears terrifyingly powerful here. He casually stops Stormbreaker with just one hand and catches the axe between his fingers. I think it's been done to mirror when Thor tried to kill Thanos in Infinity War, and once more is sort of a callback to Thor's biggest failure. Except this time, the stakes are even higher. It's really good shorthand though, and in just one shot we see how powerful Doom is. In the comics, he's of course gone full god tier before as well, and it's similar to how he did in the original Secret Wars 2. There he also stole the power of the Beyonder, which is not to be confused with the Beyonders, with a Z. He's clearly not breaking a sweat facing Thor though, which makes me wonder if we might see Stormbreaker destroyed during the fight. Kind of like how Hela smashed Mjolnir. Sorry, Jonathan. That hammer has been Love's weapon since Love and Thunder, and I think the one that Cap has might be from his journey during Endgame. He was supposed to return it, but we have seen how he's been going around breaking the rules, so I did wonder about that, but yeah, it is probably just Love's. We then hear Chris Evans' unmistakable voice saying, "Hey pal." He's sporting long hair and a full beard, a lot like Infinity War, and there Thor joked about how he'd copied his look. How about this immediately raises questions about the older Steve Rogers that we saw at the end of Endgame. We've never gotten confirmation on where that version is or what he's been doing beyond some jokes about him being on the moon. I do even wonder if he's going to appear in the movie at some point and they'll go to him to ask if he's experienced anything like this. Because technically, even if Loki took him off his planet, he probably should have seen stuff. But I think that Steve speaking with his older self could be a perfect way to illustrate how timelines and time travel actually work in the MCU. The old Cap might not even be able to offer advice since none of these multiversal events ever happen in his timeline. Steve also casually catches Mjolnir, proving he's still every bit as worthy as he was in Endgame. We also have the poster, which has just been released alongside the trailer, and this shows Doom in front of a gigantic mural of the world with a son and mother at the top. Though people have theorized that this is his wife and child, I think more likely than not that it's him and his mother. Cynthia Von Doom was a sorceress, and her eternal damnation by Mephisto eventually drove Doom on a quest to study both science and sorcery. So it could be that, but I do think thematically it makes more sense if it is his wife and child. I did wonder if they are currently dead, and that might have been possibly caused by issues in this timeline. The film seems to centre a lot around parents and their children, and we see these throughout lots of the characters. There's Steve and his kid, Reed and Sue's child, Thor and his daughter Love, and now of course this. In our initial breakdown at the first look, I did talk about how I was wondering if Steve's child had caused lots of problems in the multiverse. Technically, this child shouldn't have been born, and Steve went back and had a kid in another timeline with a Peggy where he shouldn't have been. So this might have had a knock-on effect that caused the incursions. We've even seen stuff like this in things like Across the Spider-Verse, where 2099 tried to get back the family he lost. Kingpin also did it as well, and I do wonder if Doom's doing it too. Beyond all that, the leak suggests that after the heroes reunite in the 616 universe, a major incursion strikes, forcing everyone to head into the X-Men's world. The Marvels already showed us that their universe is the one directly adjacent to the 616, and the two Earths are now colliding. This collision apparently kicks off with a massive Avengers vs X-Men battle, which is the first huge set piece of the movie. According to the reports, Monica then steps in to stop the fight, and explains that she's been living in that universe and that the X-Men aren't the enemy, which is kind of what we talked about before. We then have the scene where they realise Doom's out for his own plan, and this is when they fight on the grounds. That was something that was shown in the leaked footage with the X-Men, Avengers, X-Men with a Z, and so on going against the villain. Doom then takes over the Sentinels, and we get a scene akin to the Avengers Assemble bit from the first big team-up film. Now, a lot of the leaks say that Doom wins in the end, which, yeah, if we're going into Secret Wars and they've already announced it, it seems pretty obvious. I'm also not sure what, if anything, Marvel still plans to release between these two movies, and I'm also really curious about Doctor Strange and Clear. I do even wonder if they might be stand-ins for the Black Swans. That would track with the comics, where Strange stood at Doom's side when he defeated the Beyonders, helped create Battleworld, and later admitted that he regretted not seizing that godlike power for himself. We also know that we are getting the TVA and Loki involved, and I do wonder if they'll be the reason that Doom eventually switches sides or simply goes rogue. Or maybe he just has a radically different idea of how to save the multiverse. It would be so cool as well if the TVA shows up, tries to arrest or sideline him, and then he just goes mental and goes, I'm gonna fucking do it my way. Fine, I'll do it myself. The Thanos sort of thing. If the leaks are accurate, then Steve already knows the TVA is now run by a Loki variant, and there is the chance that we could have Loki reuniting with Thor. That could then lead to some fascinating decisions about how the new multiverse is rebuilt. Finally, I've also seen a lot of theories that Steve Rogers himself accidentally caused or at least triggered the incursions by going back in time to be with Peggy. It's not the most original idea, but it would be a pretty poetic gut punch if that gets confirmed. And old Steve, you son of a bitch, I knew it was you. Anyway, that wraps up the video, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the trailer. If you've enjoyed this, then please hit the thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe for our constant coverage on the movie. I'm guessing that we'll have some follow-up videos on this as well, and if there's anything we missed, anything you want to see us discuss, then guess what? Comment section below is the perfect place to drop it. If you want to follow us on Instagram as well and keep up to date with what we're doing, then make sure that you check us out at Heavy Spoilers. Beyond that, you can also support the channel by becoming a member, and for that you get at least one breakdown a week before anyone else, and it all helps videos like this get made. It's as rewarding for you as it is for us. But yeah, we do at least an hour-long breakdown every single week that we give early to members, and we really have tried to make it so, 99 cents a month, less than $12 a year, at least 52 hours of content a year, probably double that, so like 100 hours, and it's just makes a massive difference to the channel and means that we're not constantly shitting it that YouTube's gonna demonetize us or something. So huge thank you, really appreciate it, and thanks for all your support. Now, if you want something else to watch, a big breakdown on screen right now too, and hopefully I'll see you over there right after this. What do you mean you're sick of seeing me already? What do you mean you see me more than your family? I'm sick of you, mate. You bloody get the hell out of here. I don't want your views. No, I really appreciate it, mate, and I'll see you on the next one. Another terrible outro, no doubt.